right, Trinidad and Tobago. My name is Uchenna Hackett. Clients call me Dr. Livet. And as usual, we're here to give you the very best as it pertains to your health and your wellness. And, this is the Monday morning reset. You all know you've been with me for a while. And, of course, it's always good to be here with you. And it is my highlight on a Monday and my somewhat stress on a Monday in a little way, trying to figure out what should I say next. Because, when you're on the radio for 10 years, it's like, you don't know what to say again. You say everything. I talk about every topic about health. And I have to appreciate, of course, that some people never heard me before. And if this is the first time for you listening to this show, then welcome. Again, my name is Uchenna Hackett. I'm a functional blood chemistry practitioner. I'm a master herbalist. I'm a clinical herbalist, meaning that we look at herbal medicine and the relationship between your blood work and how it may affect your supplement regime, right? So if you're taking vitamin D, for example, you need to know when do you have sufficient. You need to know how deficient you are, and so that you don't want to be taking supplements forever unless you really have to, right? So that's the key, just kind of understanding what you have to do and do it, essentially. And that's going to be the key for everything. And so we've been doing that for a long time. And it has been my pleasure, of course, to be here with you doing what I do. If you want to get a hold of us, the Livet HFB Spa is located at the corner of 1st Avenue and 8th Street in Barataria. And the numbers to call, you can call or WhatsApp 674-5015. That number again is 674-5015. And of course, we're here to give you what we've been giving you forever. So I'm trying to pull up my stuff here, my notes for today's show. So I stay on track. I tend to stray sometimes, So I have to pull up my notes. So, all right. So today we're talking about what it takes or what it is to be a healthy human. And in that topic kind of came because I went into the forest yesterday. I haven't been into the forest for a long time, actually. Yesterday was one of those days where I said, you know what, let me go in the forest, and I took someone. Sometimes I take people from time to time and help them to balance themselves, because for those of you who may not know, fasting in the forest for 40 days is why I'm here now talking to you. I never thought that I would have been this person on the radio talking. I'm not that kind of person. For those of you who may know me personally, know that I tend to sit in the background like a fly and observe everything, So anyway, so I went to the forest yesterday, and I want to give you a mountain message this Monday morning. And the mountain message is a discussion I was having. I'll share this discussion with you this morning. And that discussion simply was the realization that we are, as humans, we are nothing, and we are something, and we are everything. And the person who I was with in the forest, we were having this discussion, and I said to her that there's a tribe in Africa, the most ancient herbalist on the face of the earth. And one of the shamans there, I mention him all the time because he was very impactful in my life. He said, Uchenna, he says, everything in their tribe, they say everything is nothing until you make it something. I'll repeat that. He said that everything is nothing unless you make it something. And so coming off of that was this realization that we are, as humans, we are nothing, and we are something, and we are everything. So let me start with us being everything now. Let's talk about the science part of it now. We are everything because we share the same DNA as a banana. 50% of a banana DNA is exactly that of a human. But more than that, science has already known for many decades that all living things share the same DNA, all plants and animals. Next Monday, I'm going to talk about the fact that, they studied how human DNA may change or be altered. This is not for today's show, but just give you a hint for next Monday. But this particular study showed that they studied parasites to show that if parasites fed on a meat diet versus parasites fed on a plant diet, and the differences we'll discuss next Monday. But I also found that was very interesting. So the conversation again yesterday, we were talking about the fact that, so the person asked me, why do I say we are nothing? And we are nothing because we came from thin air, supposedly. We started off as nothing in complete darkness. And as I'm speaking now, and as we were sitting there yesterday, all these moments in life we have become nothing but a memory. And in our lifetime, whatever we do in this life, we have to remember that nothing is inevitable. We will become nothing in many ways. And in many ways, we are nothing if we consider the amount of other humans who share this space and time with us. At the same time, we are something because one person could change the entire world. So it means that although we are nothing and came from nothing, supposedly, we can change and transform this world with what we do. In my 10 years of doing this kind of work, I'm not doing it to boast about this work because it was a gift I was given to do this type of work, but it has been so fulfilling because we have changed the lives of many people who came to see us. And we do change lives every day, not because Dr. Livet is doing it, but because I am just simply a servant to this universe and to God and doing what we all have to do in our own way to change the world. And everybody in their jobs or their businesses or teachers or doctors and everybody somewhere listening right now doing something to change. And I want you to focus today, focus that realization on being the best at whatever you do, because we know that it's just for a while. And so why we also say that we are everything is because everything is connected. So our pineal gland, I'm not too sure if you all heard of that before, but your pineal gland is in the center of your brain. We see Hindus, they put a dot on their head here, and that dot symbolizes the pineal gland. And your pineal gland essentially allows us to see dreams. When we sleep, it projects the image in our dreams, and so we are able to say, well, I dreamt this last night, and it felt so real. Well, how did it feel so real? Because your third eye, which is the other reference to the pineal gland, your third eye saw everything, and it was as real as if your physical two eyes saw it. Now, if you blow the brain up just above the third ventricle, where the pineal gland seems to sit in mid-air, in space, I should say, if you blow that up 10,000 times, it actually looks like the universe. And anything happens in the universe, by the way, we see the pineal gland shifts in relationship to what happens in the universe. And that is amazing when you think about it, because we think the universe is external when we have a miniature universe within our bodies. And this realization has allowed me to understand that everyone, again, who's listening, and everyone anywhere in the world, we are all connected, and we all have to think about our lives in a way that is appreciative of that, so that your selfishness or selfishness, melts away more and more with that realization. And that realization by itself is enough for us to be human, which is the topic of today, is how or what it is to be human. We forget sometimes we are human. And because we forget we're human, here's what we do. We work all day, we work a little more, we argue for most of the times in this day, or we stressed out for something or the other. I saw somebody recently who came into my office and you know, rightfully, notice I'm using the words correctly, rightfully, she was stressed out about having to wear a mask. She was really stressed out about that. And she was stressed out about COVID-19 and the fact that we shouldn't be made to wear masks and we shouldn't be made to do whatever else the rules are. And I said to her, I said, what is your job? Like, what did God put you on this earth to do? And I said to her, while it frustrates me too, and I'm sure it frustrates you to have to wear a mask and to sanitize your hands and whatever else, I don't know. While that might be frustrating, but we can't allow that to take away our focus from the fact that we're human first. And as human beings, we need some very important things. And so that's where this term in health, in our field, we talk about holistic health. Right? Dr. Laila Africa wrote a book on it. His name of his book is African Holistic Health. And in the book, he talked about all different types of things that I'm going to try to summarize this morning in the little time that we have. And the time flies so fast already when we're having fun, but we have at least about 35 minutes to go. So let's see how I can summarize this book, this holistic health, and what it is to be human. So, God gives us a gift every morning when we see the sun. Most people, do you know some people don't know that where the sun rises? I remember trying to give somebody directions many years ago, and the person said, I don't know where the sun rises. I'm trying to say to her, well, east, west, north, south, to give her directions, of course. I said, well, the sun rises in the east, thinking that she would know the east is, that the sun rises in the east. And she didn't know the sun rises in the east. So she don't know east, west, north, or south based on where the sun rose. Because of my mountain days, yesterday I was in the forest, so I was coming out of the forest. We had no phones, because they shouldn't carry phones in the forest anyway. But anyway, so the person said, well, what time it is? So I looked up at the sun. I said, well, based on where the sun is, the time is 1 o'clock. She looked at me in awe that I could look at the, you know, because where the sun is directly above your head is midday. I thought everybody knew that, right? So anyway, when we got to the car finally, she says, so what time do you think it is? So we kind of had a bet to say what time it was. And I said, well, now it's about 1. I said the latest it is 1:30. And when I got into the car, it was 1:27, and she was shocked. I'm only saying this to say that we don't track the cycles. Like, we don't realize that the moon also rises. The moon rises too, you know, just like the sun. And it goes through the same cycle. It comes up in the east and it sets. But if you don't know that, if you're in a building, for whatever reason, we cannot live in boxes. We start out living in boxes. So the box might be, the first box was the crib, and then the second box is the room they put you in. And then we look at boxes all day long, whether it be computer screens, those of you on social media, or television screens. And there's no boxes in nature. God didn't make no boxes. Nothing is square in nature, by the way. So we keep forgetting that we're human. So we need to look at the sun. When the sun rises, it tells us that we have an opportunity as humans to be better humans. And when the sun sets, we have 24 hours. And I always break down my day like this. 8 hours to work, 8 hours to sleep, 8 hours to have fun. Not in that order, but you all get the point. And some people, they do not, for whatever reason, they do not realize that this 24-hour gift is a very temporary gift. It is a very short-lived gift, you see. So And at the end of that day, we can't go back and do anything about it. Like, we can't go back and say, well, let me, let me live that gift over again. You can't do it. God give you a gift and He give you a time to use it. And if you don't use it, you lose it forever. So that is the mountain message I wanted to share with you all today, is that we are nothing, something, and everything. And as it pertains to your health, by the way, we can't be holistically healthy, according to Dr. Lila Africa, unless we tap into our natural cycle. We have a circadian rhythm that is synchronized with that of the sun. So I had another conversation with a client this week, and in my guide to perfect health, which I wrote earlier on this year, is an updated guide. In the guide, I have, of course, all my clients who come to see me get a free copy of the guide. We're going to have it available for sale for the public by the end of this year. But anyway, back to the guide now. So in the guide, I talked about the sun and diets and what time a person should eat. But in Dr. Africa's book, he talked about the organs having cycles. So then the liver has a cycle where the liver makes the most bile to digest and breaks down fat between the lunchtime period, basically. First thing in the morning, your liver didn't get up as yet to make bile, people. So bile emulsifies and breaks down fat. And you are getting up in the morning when your liver is sleeping and putting stuff in a pot to fry, because we can't break down oil without bile. But you frying sausage and eggs and whatever else, we like fried foods, fry, bake, first thing in the morning. Your liver ain't ready for that as yet. Your liver watching you and saying, are you crazy? Your liver makes 500 to 1,000 milliliters of bile a day. Should I repeat that? Your liver makes 500 to 1,000 milliliters of bile per day, for the whole day. And the ideal time for your liver to do that is between 10 and 2. But you're going to have double 6 o'clock and 7 o'clock in the morning before you go to work. And of course, the bara is fried bara. Is it any wonder that 7, let me correct myself, it used to be 6, that 7 out of 10 people will die from a chronic lifestyle disease because we have forgotten to live in synchronicity with our cycles, by the way. So I got deeper yesterday in the forest, and I'm making out of scattered points. It'll make sense just now. We were talking about patterns, right? And the fact that humans have patterns. So some people, if I were to share a little bit of my life, I had many near-death experiences in my life. I almost drunk twice, I was almost killed twice at gunpoint. I had all kinds of different things happen to me in my life at different points in my life. At the same time, I have a pattern of working hard. I had a barber salon when I was 13 years old, so I started cutting hair and working hard. That is one pattern too. Well, we all have patterns in our lives of success. We have patterns of failure. We have patterns of our health, having cycles where maybe at the end of every year, at this month I'm sick, or at this month it may be a relationship between some allergens that may be prevalent at different times in the year may trigger you to be sick. So you have cycles of sickness, we have cycles of wellness, we have cycles of full moon and new moon, and we know that even that cycle, things are very different. You should get married in the new moon. If you get married in the new moon, you are more likely to not get divorced. Full moon is a whole different story. You should never have surgery in the full moon. New moon is also the best time to have surgery if you want to have a quick recovery. We need to understand that I just said to you that we are everything. We are part of everything. And we can't do things how we want to do it, when we want to do it, and expect to have success. You can't expect your liver to make bile first thing in the morning because you late for work and you didn't have planned the day before. Let me get some fruits to eat in the morning so I don't have to stop by the doubles man in the morning. Check him for lunch. Double's still unhealthy, but check him for lunchtime. Check him at a different time when your liver ready. You're with me? So the client was asking me, why do I say your first meal should be at 11 or 10, 11, and your last meal should be at 6? So I had to explain to the client. I said, well, forget what the science is. Common sense is that thermogenesis or heat is part of how the body breaks down food. When a blender is working, the human body is a food processor. So when the blender working, part of how the blender processes the food is heat. That's why when you eat food, sometimes people sweat. Your body has to produce the heat because heat is part of the process to digest your food. So when the sun is the hottest, is when the sun is above your head. That's when you're in synchronicity with nature to process a meal, that it will take the least energy from you to process the food. You all with me this morning? So therefore, we should not eat when the sun is setting and when the sun is rising, because they're going to put more stress on your digestive system to process food. He also asked, why do I recommend 2 or 1 meal a day, which is now called intermittent fasting? Our ancestors would laugh at us because they never ate first thing. No ancient tribe in no part of the world had breakfast. Because remember, there was no fridge. There was no way to store the food to keep it cold. So they had to always go and get fresh stuff. And the hunters and gatherers will go out there in the day and hunt and gather their food when the sun is where? When the sun is above their head, because they can see to hunt. And they would have that 1 meal for the day most of the times, and there will be no snacking and no second meal. We using food to process our emotions. We eating for all different reasons other than for nutrition. Your body needs 92 nutrients every day. Those nutrients includes macronutrients and micronutrients. Right? The World Health Organization specified or classified nutrients in terms of macronutrients and micronutrients. The micro is the ones that we so-called need in smaller amounts, and the macro is the ones that we need in so-called larger amounts, like protein and amino, of course, which is amino acids, and B vitamins and so forth. Do you know what the most important macronutrient is, actually? The most important one that most of you, like me at one point in time, the most important one is water. Water is the most important macronutrient. And you worried about other things, secondary things like, I wonder if I have enough B vitamins. Not that they're not important. Or I wonder, you're going to buy expensive supplements, you know. You're going to buy calcium and magnesium and whatever else that people, whatever they sell, right? You're doing all these other things and you're not drinking enough water. Water in the forest, where I was yesterday, when we test the water there, the pH of the water is 8.2. Incidentally, the pH of your blood is 8.2. Do you think that's a coincidence? I don't think so. So when we're talking about healthy water, or water that is in synchronicity with this human body, there is nothing else that's better than spring water. We were looking at a rock yesterday, and the rocks there, in the rocks you could actually see silver, you can see copper, you can see gold, you can see all these different elements in the rocks. And I said to the person I was with there in the forest, I said, the rock is part of you as much as you are part of the rock. And because we are made from the same minerals, right? And at the end of the day, once you remember that you are part of everything and you are part of nature, when we are surrounded all day long with buildings and inorganic substances, really, we tend to forget and lose touch with who we are as humans and what it means to be human. But let me go back to water. So the fact that water is the most important meal of the day, how much water do you drink in a day? And more importantly is what type of water do you drink in a day? For people who do live blood analysis, we don't do live blood, we do functional blood chemistry assessments. But I saw a documentary, I may have mentioned this before, but I saw a documentary, I did recommend it, it's The Great Mystery of Water, or Water, the Great Mystery. One of those two names, my brain never gets it right. But nonetheless, in the documentary, they showed live blood analysis before and after drinking water. So before drinking spring water, they refer to it as functional water, structured water. But when they take the person's blood and they looked at it, they were able to see the blood clunking up on it, right? And they gave them structured water or spring water. And 5 minutes after drinking spring water, they went back on the they went back to look at the blood. And in 5 minutes, they saw the blood was swimming around, the red blood cells. It was no longer clunking up. 5 minutes after drinking spring water. So, drinking 8 or 16 glasses of water a day, we use in our part of my functional blood chemistry assessment and my holistic health assessment. We have a scale, it's a body composition scale, it's a class 2 medical device, it's very accurate, and it measures the amount of water you have versus the amount of fat you have versus the amount of protein you have versus the amount of water you have. And then that tells me how much water you should drink a day, but more importantly, it tells me that you have to change your body composition, because you see, if your fat percentage is too high, we always see the water percentage being low. If your bone and your muscle, for whatever reason, as we get older actually is the reason, it tends to degenerate over time or waste away. Because the older we get, we naturally going to lose muscle mass and bone density. That's inevitable. Unless we do strength training, and that will change that at any age, by the way. But anyway, if we were to say our blood travels 60,000 miles within our bodies, 60,000 miles, and your blood, as I said, is 92% water. So if you take away nothing else from today's show, remember that we are mostly water, and that from all the macronutrients, which many of them are very important, we know calcium and phosphorus are very important for your bone, including vitamin D, including, of course, your bone is also your teeth, by the way. So we know those things are important. We also know that if you have too much electrolytes, right, you can suffer with edema. So too much salt or sodium, potassium, these electrolytes could cause you to retain water. So everything is important to understand. So when we do a functional blood chemistry assessment, we actually look at your blood from a lab. And of course, we work with Iwer Medical Lab. And they have been at our office now for some time. And it's very convenient for you, our clients, so you don't have to go and find a lab wherever. But nonetheless, when we look at your blood, we can tell you where your deficiencies lie. But once you figure that out, the other thing I want to jump back to is your patterns, because when we look at your blood, we could also tell from year to year or every 6 months what your patterns are. So we look at the patterns in your blood work, and that could help us to predict with almost great accuracy where is your disease risk, which organs are the ones that are most likely to fail. Because if I check in your blood work every year and I see your creatinine levels every year going up by 0.1, I could predict maybe that you may have kidney problems, you may have renal failure. If I look at your HbA1c, which is a marker for your blood sugar levels over 3 months, and I find that every year I find your HbA1c going up, I could tell you, well, you see, you borderline, or you headed for diabetes, you see. If I look at your blood work and I look at the patterns of homocysteine, which we can also test from the blood, and homocysteine will tell us your risk for atherosclerosis. Another blood marker called fibrinogen would also tell me your risk for atherosclerosis. And there are many other blood markers that we could look and say, hey, if you don't adjust these levels, this pattern suggests that you may be at a higher risk for a future heart attack or stroke or cancer or whatever it is. But let me tell you the truth now about this. Even though the blood work is very important, but so there's something above the blood work, which I mentioned earlier on, and I mentioned to the client who I took to the forest yesterday, which is that your patterns affect everything. And I'll just give you one analogy, or one example, I should say. If you cry, and I take that drop and check the pH of the tear, if you cry because of anger, it's a very acidic. And if it's a tear of joy, it's very alkalizing. So your emotions, in many ways, affect your blood work, because it also drives you to eat the wrong things or to be addicted to things that takes you away from processing the emotions that you have to process. So, we know what the topic of today's show is how to be human. And when you forget you're human, we all have bad experiences, right? So I could say, well, I almost died in the sea, so I'm not going to the sea ever again. Or I'm never going to trust any human being again because I got robbed, or whatever it may be. Or somebody hurts you, right? You say, see me, I'm not going to love anybody again because this one person hurt me. That type of decision is not going to get you well in your life. You have to have the realization that everything happens for a reason. Take the lesson from the reason and move on with your life. And enjoy your life. Enjoy this 24-hour gift that God gives us every day. Every day. Enjoy the gift. And don't think about something happening to you or happened to you in some past time. All the people I see that were sick in my office had an emotional sickness first. I want to repeat that. Everybody I saw who was very sick, especially the ones who were the most sick, were emotionally sick first. They forgot they were human. They forgot they need hugs and kisses. They forgot they need to spend some time in nature and watch some sunsets and watch some, watch some full moons too when the moon full, and go outside and just understand that we're not just living in a box. We're living on a spaceship that's flying through space. And we connected to all things and to everything. But you trying to find wellness, and we trying to find wellness, and we trying to be well. And we trying to understand, in all this madness that happens in this world, is there any joy to be found? And the answer, of course, is yes. And whenever I'm in nature, I'm reminded that the answer is always yes. When I see people stressed out, and even myself will come on the radio and tell you about things that you should be concerned about, things that you should, come and do an assessment, yes. But don't live in fear of dying from a disease. Do what you have to do to be healthy and do it well. And once you do, you will find peace and balance within your life. And once that happens, becoming healthier is inevitable. There's the Emperor Valley Zoo was named after the blue morpho butterfly. And if you look at the Emperor Valley Zoo, next time you go around the savannah, you'll see a logo or a picture of this blue morpho butterfly, which is also called, of course, the Emperor butterfly. I remember when I was fasting back in 2010, of course, my mountains is in Santa Cruz in the northern range, right? And you see a lot of those blue morpho butterflies there. And I would imagine that where the Emperor Valley Zoo is, which of course is part of the northern range, they had a lot of blue morphos there at one point in time, right? But I said to myself, I wonder how long this blue butterfly lives. And I realized that this butterfly only lives for 6 to 8 weeks. But every time I go to the forest, this butterfly always flies out into the sun and gets, of course, butterflies get energy from the sun. So they always fly into the light, right? To power up. But as far as I'm concerned, this butterfly is always there. The butterfly is always there and will always be there, as if it is living forever. But the butterfly has 6 weeks to live. The butterfly doesn't fly around saying, oh my God, all I have is 6 weeks to live. The butterfly trying to find a boyfriend or a girlfriend butterfly to get a butterfly on, to make sure that they're always going to be there, right? They're always going to be there at all times. So, as humans, the most important activity we really have is making a human being. And you know what the other thing I find is a lot of people have mommy issues or daddy issues. Mommy wasn't there or daddy wasn't there. And our society is a reflection of mommy wasn't there and daddy wasn't there. Or if they were there, they were not the type of parents who could have made functional butterflies who fly around doing exactly what they have to do and not doing all kind of other things that they're not supposed to do. So my suggestion to you is, forest changed my life. I wouldn't be here today if it would not for that forest in Santa Cruz. I would not have a beautiful wife and children. I would not have this practice. And the only reason all these things happen is because I walked away.
You juice. And when me drink, we got a natural boost. Ginger, lion, turmeric. Keep away every sickness. Get a bottle of this a real spice. Make a healthy choice in your life. And let me drink up the juice. And let me drink up the thing from the roots. And let me drink up the thing from the fruits. The you juice. En route to the ultimate you.
All right, so I just want to, our time goes so fast in this place, right? So, of course, if you want to call us, you can give us a call, 674-5015. That number again is 674-5015. I do have some announcements for you, Juice. We are in a couple of new locations now. Let me see if I can find them very quickly here. You can't find anything when you want to find it, Lord Almighty. Nonetheless, go on our website, actually. We have a new website for you, juiceroots.com. If you go on the website, we actually have a Google map of the whole country, and you'll see every single store that U-Juice is available on. We're in every single major supermarket. I want to thank everyone for your support. U-Juice is just incredible in so many different ways, and we are happy to make the first juice drink in the world that has all these healthy ingredients in it. We made the first sorrel juice with the least amount of sugar, with the most powerful antioxidants and anti-inflammatory substances. And it's no surprise to me that people are just completely crazy over U juice and they're addicted to it because it just is so good for your health, you know. So check out our store at ujuiceroots.com. You can purchase U juice online with free delivery anywhere in Trinidad and Tobago. So I want to thank you so much for being here with us. And as we always say, live mighty, live healthy, live it.